marathon, and then last year in a Ferrari. Located just north of Barcelona, the main straightaway is more than a mile long.
I mean, it has been outstanding for me several times. I remember 94, going with only fifth gear around the circuit, 96. Achieving a result which I hadn't dreamed before to achieve. I mean, I almost left the second car if I wanted. The circuit is very challenging, I have to say. It's one of the few circuits you have high-speed corners, and not just one, a couple of high-speed corners. Overtaking again is a bit difficult, as you have most of the time a high-speed corner before you come onto a straight and end up into a slow chicane, which means you lose so much downforce, can't follow the car in front of you, and have very little overtaking possibility. It's tough, yeah. G-force is very high, so you have to have a very big neck to withstand the G-force, the braking G-force as well. And physically, you have to work out a lot of time. There's only one straight you can relax, to be honest, and the rest is hard work.
Well, we found out that if he finishes, he wins. It's been that kind of season for Jacques Villeneuve. As for qualifying, it's never been a problem with Villeneuve on the pole in 4 of the first 5 races. It's the finishing that has been his problem. So Villeneuve and the Williams were the favorites for qualifying yesterday. The weather was overcast, and there was the threat of rain. 14 cars took to the track at the start of the 1-hour qualifying session on Saturday. And it was Jacques Villeneuve who set the early time in his Williams Renault. Villeneuve bettering the pole time of last year by more than 3 seconds. David Coulthard in the McLaren not far behind, just off the pace in his Mercedes. Remember, he won in Australia. Williams' teammate, Heinz-Harald Frentzen, looking for his second consecutive pole position, bettered Villeneuve's time. 13 minutes into the session, he was almost a second better. But a quarter of the way through, Michael Schumacher, the Ferrari, blows up, forcing him into a backup car. Not good news for Ferrari. Heinz-Harald Frentzen back in the garage, planning. And Jean Alesi also discussing what he'll do when he goes back out. Eddie Irvine in the second Ferrari hasn't qualified well this season. Well off the pace. 2.5 seconds slower than Williams midway through the session. Mika Hakkinen, the other McLaren, putting together some hot laps. 5th quickest, but still more than a second off the pace. Less than 10 minutes remaining. Jean Alesi puts together his quickest lap of the day. Good enough for 4th, outside second row. But then with time running out, Jacques Villeneuve timed it perfectly. Knocks Frentzen off the pole by 0.2 of a second. But Frentzen wasn't through. In the last minute, he tried one last time to regain the pole position, but it would not be enough. And Frentzen would start next to Villeneuve on an all-Williams front row. Meanwhile, Michael Schumacher did his best. It's the backup car, remember, but he's nearly 2 seconds slower than the Williams pair up front. So Jacques Villeneuve grabs his 5th pole position of the season and looking to regain the driver's lead here in Spain.
I knew we'd be pretty competitive here because of all the winter testing we had done. And actually, when we came here yesterday, the car felt totally different than all the testing we had done. So I was a little bit disappointed, and we had a lot of work to do, but we managed to get the car working pretty well. And this morning, it was pretty good, but not as good as Heinz. And Heinz gave me a really hard time. And to the last run, we made some tweaks on the car, and the car was almost perfect. And I just managed to get in front of Heinz. So it was a good battle. But you know, it's better when you get it from the first outing.
I was a bit disappointed, of course. You know, well, mainly it was from my side a bit unpredictable because in the third run I had a bit more headwind and the wind has changed, and I wasn't quite sure if I should have changed the car or not, and I kept the car going like it was and didn't make any modification at the end. Let's try it again. but didn't work out for the last one.
The biggest change we have here, we have an improved engine that Delmore have been working on. We tested here, and it certainly helped us a great deal. I have to say I'm a little bit surprised in the balance, because the test we had here beforehand struggled a lot with understeer, and for whatever reason that seems to have become less of a problem at the test in qualifying than it was in the test, and the tyre wear has dropped off considerably, so I think we're looking in pretty good shape for the race.
And it's become a familiar sight, hasn't it? For the 10th straight time, a Williams is on the pole, and it is an all-Williams front row with Villeneuve and Frentzen. David Coulthard starts inside row 2. He made his debut at this track in 1994. It's Hakkinen and Berger in row 3. Schumacher, the two-time defending champion, is inside row 4 with Fisichella. Brother Ralph and Johnny Herbert make up row 5. Eddie Irvine on the podium, 3 straight races, is inside row 6 with Olivier Panis. Giannini Morbidelli replaces Nicolo Lorini, and he's inside row 7 with Mika Sala. Boy, the long season continues for Damon Hill as he starts beside Nakano in row 8. Second in Monaco, Rubens Barrichello in the Stewart is inside row 9. As we take a look at the rest of the field, 22 cars separated by 4.5 seconds will start this Spanish Grand Prix. And let's say hello or hola to TSN's Jerry Donaldson, who joins us today from Catalonia in Barcelona. How are you, Jerry?
I'm well, Vic.
Tell me about...
Hola, and buenos tardes to you.
Thank you very much. What's the weather like, and who did what in this morning's warm-up?
Well, the weather at the moment is not raining. It was raining earlier after the warm-up session, and there's a shred of rain during the race. In the warm-up, our boy Jacques was quickest again. Ralph Schumacher was next. Mika Hakkinen, Frentzen, Alesi, Fisichella, and so on. But it's hard to make judgments on what people are doing in the warm-up. It'll depend on their fuel loads and tire choices, all that kind of thing. But Jacques is very relaxed. In fact, he just had lunch with his 2 guests for the weekend, who are Stéphane Quintal and Vincent Damphus of the Montreal Canadiens. And they talk hockey, not racing, so Jacques managed to get his mind off the job for a few moments at least.
This track seems to be perfectly suited for Williams. Everyone says it. It's high speed, the corners. But if it rains, then Ferrari suddenly is in the picture.
It's a whole new ball game. In fact, enthusiasts of real racing are doing rain dances here because they're afraid that Jacques and Heinz-Charles will run away with it if there is no rain. Now, the Williams weather forecaster, we're not sure whether we should trust him or not after his big goof in Monaco.
Yeah.
He says that there'll be a dry start. There could be rain after halfway in the race. That's the very latest news.
Now, we know that Ferrari had all kinds of problems last year with the engines. They seem to go away, but then yesterday, poof, and Michael Schumacher loses his engine. Are the Ferrari folks suddenly worried again?
Well, they are, and to compound that, Vic, this morning in the warm-up session, his race car developed an oil leak, and he had to come charging back into the pits and use the spare car. So Ferrari, they had been reliable in the earlier races, after having terrible reliability problems last year, and now they seem back to their old ways. But never discount Michael Schumacher, rain or shine. If his car is there, he'll be there.
Jerry, thank you very much. We are going to take a quick break, and when we come back, he proved it last week in Monaco and last year in Spain. If it is wet, Michael Schumacher is the best bet.
People in this country are starting to dream again. It may seem like a small thing, but this country was built by people who dared to dream. This country is much stronger than it was a few years ago. And again, people are daring to dream about what might be for themselves and for their families. I want to help create a country where people can dream.
When your shock absorbers are worn, your tires can lose contact with the road. Sooner or later, you could really lose control. So go to your Monroe Ride Expert Center. Buy 3 Monroe Sensatrack shocks, and we'll give the 4th one free. Buy 3, get the 4th one free. Monroe Sensatrack shocks, because when it comes down to it, safety is a contact sport. Call 1-888-SAFER-RIDE for a Monroe Ride Expert Center near you.
Are you hungry? Yeah. How about something different?
I hear they have pitas at Wendy's.
I'm hungry.
Yeah, me too. Let's go to Wendy's and try the pitas.
In case you haven't heard, Wendy's has fresh stuffed pitas, like our Garden Ranch chicken with chunks of chicken breast filet, chicken Caesar with shredded Parmesan, classic Greek with feta cheese, and veggies.
Where should we eat? I don't know.
They have pitas at Wendy's.
Thanks, Dave.
It's everything you love, stuffed in a big, warm, soft pita.
We're selling lots of pitas, Dave.
Word gets around.
Come on in and try one today.
Good eye, Uncle. Need a lift?
Nice car, kid. It's my Subaru Outback Sport.
Another Outback.
Same all-wheel drive traction as yours. Got a gas mileage than the Cherokee Sport.
That's fine, but can she...
Alcorn or RAV4? No problem.
Smart boy. Must run in the family.
Outback Sport. The newest Outback from Subaru.
Formula One Racing on TSN, presented by the Grand Prix of Canada, is brought to you by Molson Canadian, by Advantage, providing solutions for your business, by Chrysler, 5-star service, the name that knows your Chrysler vehicle best. Great people, great service. And by Castrol, proud sponsor of the Williams-Renault Formula One Racing Team.
Well, you can see the weather is threatening in Barcelona at Catalonia. As Jerry Donaldson says, there is the forecast for rain, start dry and then turn wet, as Damon Hill does last-minute interviews before climbing into his Arrows. He'll start 15th. Now, with the win in Monaco and a couple of seconds, Michael Schumacher suddenly finds himself leading the World Drivers' Championship by 4 points over Jacques Villeneuve and by 10 over his Ferrari teammate Eddie Irvine. There are 4 drivers who are tied at 10 points, on through Nicolo Lorini, who is down at the bottom. He has just 1 point, and he is, as we said, being replaced by Morbidelli. And the consistency of Ferrari has moved them into first place in the constructors' race. Only once has a Ferrari failed to be on the podium, and that was in Brazil. Williams second, McLaren third. Well, just like yesterday, Williams dominated qualifying last year with Damon Hill and Jacques Villeneuve on the front row. But then the rains came. Michael Schumacher put on a memorable performance to win his first race for Ferrari.
Michael Schumacher has been left at the start, and there's a jostling for position as they go into the first right-hander, and Schumacher is behind his teammate down in 6th position. What a start. And there is the Ferrari of Michael Schumacher, the fastest man on the track. His previous lap was 2 seconds faster than the 2 cars ahead of him. The genius of Michael Schumacher is making up for the deficiencies of the Ferrari, the handling deficiencies in the wet. He's got past Gerhard Berger, he's up into 3rd place, and he's right behind Villeneuve and Alesi, and will soon be challenging for the lead. This is classic racing in appalling conditions. There is Schumacher and Alesi. It's fantastic for 2nd position. And Schumacher goes through, passes Jean Alesi and moves up into 2nd place with a bit of brilliant driving in these appalling conditions. And Schumacher is there with a clear track ahead of him, past Jacques Villeneuve. Michael Schumacher, who's going faster and faster, lap by lap. He's pulling away at the rate of 4 seconds a lap. The supreme Michael Schumacher, who's driving in this race, I frankly cannot find words good enough to praise.
This is the most dominating race performance we've had this year.
It is going to be an historic win for Schumacher, for Ferrari, and the first win ever for a Ferrari V10 engine. Michael Schumacher has driven absolutely magnificently to underline enormously his world championship status.
It really was a wonderful performance by Schumacher, who is the two-time defending champion. You see Damon Hill won it for Williams in 94. Williams dominated 91 through 94, winning them all. Nigel Mansell, a three-time winner. Prior to 1990, though, the races were run at Jerez and not Catalonia. Back with Jerry Donaldson, who joins us again from Barcelona. What is it about the rain that Michael handles seemingly better than anybody else?
Well, Jacques Villeneuve has some theories about that, Vic. It's a lot to do with sensitivity. It's, in fact, for Canadians, it's like driving on ice or hard-packed snow in the wintertime. You can't do any abrupt movements, braking, steering, all have to be progressive and gentle. Of course, another thing that you have to be when you're racing a Formula One car is extremely brave, and Schumacher is that. It was interesting that last year he really trounced John Alesi, who was second, and Alesi is supposed to be one of the great wet weather drivers. So Jacques at that stage was in very good company, finishing third behind those two guys. But I do remember him saying he was absolutely amazed at the way Schumacher was able to pass him.
We talked a little earlier, and people who are with us for Monaco know that the Williams team gambled, started on the slicks, and at the end obviously made the wrong move. And we said at the end of the race that somebody would have to pay. Did anybody in Williams have their wrists slapped for that?
No, in fact, they wouldn't identify the person who made their forecast. As I've since found out that he's actually employed by the team. He's with the meteorological department in England and comes out to each race, and that's his job, is to predict the weather. He's still here, but it was a very embarrassing moment for the Williams team, and they'll be looking to make amends for that today.
It's interesting. We can see, as we look across one of the Jordans, the gusting winds. I mean, the flags were almost stiff. And Heinz-Harald Frentzen said during the qualifying, when you get your nose into it and it becomes a headwind, the car is totally different.
Yes, in fact, this is something they'll have to contend with in the race. That wind has switched from this morning. It's coming straight down this very long straight. So it will be a tailwind as they go down the straight at the highest speeds. But on other parts of the circuit, they will be facing into it, and it could have a bearing. The setups of the cars are so sensitive that the slightest little wind gust like that can change things dramatically.
Jerry, we'll take another break right now, and then when we come back, Jerry will sit down with Jacques Villeneuve, who starts on the pole and looking for his third win of this season today in Spain.
This is my time, this is my place, my McDonald's.
This is my McDonald's.
My McDonald's. My McDonald's. Ours.
Mine, yours, that guy.
You know my fries.
This is my arch delight.
Burgers.
This is my Egg McMuffin. This is my Big Mac.
Wherever I go, it's my second home. My McDonald's.
Some athletic shoes will actually increase your performance. Brooks is one of those shoes. Some manufacturers use leading-edge technology. Brooks is one of those companies. And some companies have athletes endorse their products. Brooks is one of those companies. Of course, we don't pay them much. Brooks, for the everyday athlete.
There are a lot of different names Chrysler Canada vehicles can go by, but for maintenance service, there's only one name you need to know to keep them going. Whether it's on the track, off the track, or on the road. The one name that knows your vehicle best, Chrysler 5-star service, only at your local Chrysler dealer. Great people, great service.
Right across the country, the provinces are getting their books to balance, and many have started to actually cut taxes. Economists and expert analysts agree with us. We can afford to, and we should cut taxes now. But Mr. Chrétien wants to raise taxes and spend billions more in government money. He hasn't figured it out. It's not government money, it's your money. And we need to cut taxes to boost job creation. So let the future begin.
Paid for by the PC Party.
We continue to get ready for round 6, the Formula One World Championship. Michael Schumacher and Ferrari, disappointing start for them. Schumacher will start back on row 4 beside Fisichella after he was forced into a backup car yesterday. And isn't it interesting, when you look at the laps completed, Tyrrell is ahead of Ferrari. Look where Williams is by comparison. So it's really true. It doesn't matter how many laps you lead. It's whether you lead the last lap that's most important. There's no doubt that he was the favorite to win the World Drivers' Championship when the season began. Jacques Villeneuve finds himself, though, in second place behind Michael Schumacher. And from some reports, obviously not very happy about the state of Grand Prix racing. Jerry Donaldson is with Jacques Villeneuve.
Jacques, Michael Schumacher says he thinks that Williams is too fast for Ferrari here in Spain. Do you agree with that? And if so, what do you think your advantage is?
Well, no, I don't agree with that. In the winter testing, we were very quick. But now with the heat, the tires that are newer, I think it's changed. And we're not as competitive as we were in testing, so it's going to be much more difficult.
Do you, after each race, do you see or read what the media says about you and your performance? And for instance, after Monaco, they gave Williams a bit of a roasting. What do you think of that?
Well, I knew what was going to be written, so there was no point reading it. You read some of it, but not, I mean, you can't read everything. You just maybe read the ones you consider professional and you know, true writers, and not people that will just destroy you for the sake of it. And just, but in general, it's when I read motorsport, it's mostly to read what's happening in other series where I have friends racing, or things that I cannot follow on TV, for example. Then I'll read about it. It's not to read about Formula One.
How would you describe the track here in Barcelona? Is it hard or easy for the driver?
It's one of the most physical tracks because the G-loads are very high, mostly this year with the softer tires. We're pulling a lot of loads in the high-speed turns, and apart from the one main straight, you're pretty busy. You're turning all the time. The corners are long, so and it's also a difficult track to get a good setup on the car because there's a lot of different type of corners.
It's interesting that Jacques says he reads and watches other series. Jerry was telling us before we went on air that Jacques was an interested observer of yesterday's Gateway 300 near St. Louis, and he saw Paul Tracy's win, his third in a row, and was thrilled for Patrick Carpentier, who finished second. Well, the rumors have already started about where Damon Hill may be next season. His first year with Arrows has been an absolute disaster. The reigning champion has finished just one race, and this week, Yamaha announced that they won't have a new engine before the end of the season. And so today, Damon Hill will start 15th.
I think we've got a little bit stuck with our engine development. The new engine we're trying here hasn't really shown too much promise. So we're going to be using the same engine that we've used all season. And thereafter, it's utilizing the improvements that Bridgestone have found for us. We did some testing there in Barcelona. And if Bridgestone put together their knowledge of the circuit, we could hopefully work our way back up into the top 10.
Yeah, that's going to be an awful lot of work. Look at Damon Hill so far, where he has started and where he has finished. His classification in Brazil was 17th, but he actually went out, but he did receive a ranking. But really, it's been a disastrous year for Damon Hill. Disappointing when you're the defending world champion, Jerry Donaldson. Where's he going to be next year?
Lots of rumors, Vic, about him going to new teams next year, whereas his team owner, Tom Walkinshaw of Arrows, is trying to keep Damon around. There's no question he has a lot to offer any team. He's only 36 years of age still. And I think he'll be in demand. It's debatable whether he will move or not, but I know he's extremely unhappy with the equipment Arrows has given him, and his morale is suffering. Even though he tries to put on a brave face, it's very difficult to be the reigning world champion and have absolutely no chance of winning.
How much does it depend on if there are retirements? For example, if suddenly Gerhard Berger says, I've had enough after all these years. I gather it's the domino effect, is it?
Yes, in fact, that might be one of the scenarios. Berger is suggesting that this could be his last season. But Damon, his name is being connected with a lot of teams, a lot of front-running teams, because at the end of this season, many drivers will be at contract renewal time. So there could be a lot of changing around, and the market could open up for Damon.
Jerry, as we look at the grid, we'll take another quick break. We're almost set to go in Spain. We'll be coming back with the start of round 6 of the Formula One World Championship here on TSN.
Introducing the all-new, more powerful, better handling Honda Prestige. Choose your accessories with caution.
In the news, excitement is growing over the new brake technology announced by Midas. When tested on yellow cabs in San Francisco, these new carbon metallic brake pads lasted 29% longer than ordinary brake pads. Cab owners are delighted since they'll be spending less on brake repairs. They can now afford to spruce up their fleets.
New performance friction carbon metallic brake pads, now at Midas.
You've never seen anything like it, and it's headed for Canadian Tire.
More selection, more parts for more makes and models of cars and light trucks, more quality brand names like Certified Brakes, Monroe Shocks, and TRW suspension parts. So now, you'll get the right parts when you need them at guaranteed low prices. Canadian Tire, Canada's auto parts store, made better.
If your kids could call home right now, what would they say?
Hi, Mom. Hi, Dad. Hi, Nikki.
I love you, and don't even think of touching my hair.
I'll be home soon. I've got lots of laundry.
Love you both. Send money.
Hi, it's me. I can't sleep again.
With a Call Me card, your kids will call you more often because you give them the card and pay for their calls. Give the card, get the calls.
We always kiss again. Bye. Bye, Mom.
Welcome back, as we're just about ready now for the start of the Spanish Grand Prix here on TSN. Jerry Donaldson joins us again from Barcelona. Let's clear up something that we haven't spoken about yet and occurred after Monaco, and the announcement that the Portuguese Grand Prix may be moved from Estoril to Jerez in Spain, and then they were going to move it back. Where does it stand right now?
Vic, the team owners are meeting with Bernie Ecclestone here this weekend, and by the end of the day, we hope to have a definitive answer. But at the moment, the Portuguese Grand Prix is penciled into the calendar for November the 9th, and it would be the last race of the season if that takes place.
Jerry, thank you very much as always. We'll speak with you after the race. It's an all-Williams front row with Jacques Villeneuve on the pole for the 5th time in 6 races, looking for his 3rd win of the season. Ladies and gentlemen, to enjoy the race from Spain, let's join Murray Walker and Martin Brundle.
Turn 4, this is the right-hander. They start to drop downhill now into a 55-mile-an-hour second gear corner. And that in itself leads on to turn 6, which they're starting to approach now. That is another left-hander. And then it's climb up towards turn 7. a sweeping right-hander, which you can see Jacques Villeneuve, who's leading Princeton round, followed by Coulthard, Lacey, Häkkinen, Berger is down, Schumacher and Fisichella together. There is Eddie Irvine, and you'll see Gerhard Berger coming round at the rear of the grid. Now they're approaching the starting grid. Martin, what are they going to be thinking of at this stage?
Well, they're actually travelling quite slowly again, which tends to happen when Villeneuve's on pole. You can see them weaving around there, trying to get some tyre temperature. I personally believe that does next to nothing. You need a lot more load than that in the tyre to generate any reasonable amount of temperature. In fact, what I used to do was really work the brakes up, because you can get 300 or 400 degrees centigrade in the brakes, and that tends to radiate out into the wheel and the tyre. It keeps the whole mass nice and warm. They just come out of the blankets on the start line anyway, but they very quickly go away, and they'll soon lose a couple of PSI on this lap if they're going too slowly, which they are, I believe. And that means the ride out of the car's lower. The car's going to be handling very poorly in those first few laps. So assuming now they've managed to keep some kind of temperature, the front runners are going to arrive on the grid some 45 seconds before the stragglers at the back get lined up. And you'll see anybody on their right-hand side of the grid will move over at the last possible moment to keep their tyres as clean. The line here, the racing line here, is on the left. You can see a Lacey pulling over very, very late. The line is on the left, so the right-hand side is dirty. And there's a centre in the car and a centre on each of the grid positions. They must line those two up. They're the jump start sensors. You can see the cars at the back hovering around. Ralf Schumacher's got his arms up. He's stalled the engine. I think they'll have to delay the start. I don't see any way they can start with the car in the middle of the pack with his engine not running. He's cruised up to his grid slot and let the engine die out. And yes, they've delayed the start. He will be pushed to the back of the grid. He will have to start at the back. Now, interestingly, will they allow Gerhard Berger to come through? I once came through in Adelaide, had my car pushed through to restart what I believe would be a completely fresh race. Let's see if maybe they will count that as one lap of the race, but will Berger be allowed to make his way through to take his original grid position? I think Ralf Schumacher will be put at the back now.
Well, bad news for Ralf Schumacher, good news for possibly Gerhard Berger, and good news for Eddie Irvine, because we've had some terrible happenings at the beginnings of races like this, notably at the Canadian Grand Prix some years ago when there was a Ferrari involved. But now you can see the yellow lights are flashing there, which means that the start has been aborted. So the orange lights flash until there's a new start time confirmed. And that may actually take quite a long time, but hopefully they're just going to send them round on another lap, and then Gerhard Berger will probably take up his rightful position, sixth on the grid, and Ralf Schumacher will have to drop to the back. And Ralf is not going to be at all a popular chap, because look, everybody's having to come out again. The drivers had built themselves up to see those red lights go out, all five, to start the 65-lap race, which may now become a 64-lap race, because they have a formation lap and 65 laps. Now they've had a formation lap and will have to have another one.
Well, this is double bad news, because the tyres are just losing all of their temperature sitting there. I don't believe the teams will be allowed to change the tyres. I don't believe they'll be allowed to refuel. I think they'll call a restart very quickly. I think they can do it within 5 minutes if it's purely a driver stall on the grid. Ralf Schumacher gesticulating to all of his mechanics, explaining why he stalled the engine. Now, you may say, I never stall the engine on my car. It could well be because it's an automatic, but let's assume it's not. And these cars are very, very clumsy when you come to the line. You don't want to put too many revs on because it overheats the engine, but at the same time, you need to keep the revs reasonably high to keep the battery up, and he let the engine stall.
So the estimate is 5 minutes before we have the start in Spain. A quick break here, the Spanish Grand Prix on TSN.
someone you love could call you long distance right now, what would they say?
Call them up and tell them that I want them to come over for a Sunday dinner.
The Call Me card. Give it to your loved ones and they can call you anytime.
The older one and her husband are both vegetarians.
They'll call more often because you give them the card and pay for their calls.
Well, you can't make a really great dinner from tofu. You know that.
The Call Me card. Give the card, get the calls.
No one's tougher on motor oil than Formula One drivers. The extreme stress and searing heat generated by their hard driving can break down an oil in no time. That's why the Williams-Renault F1 racing team uses Castrol, the only leading 10W30 that provides maximum protection against both viscosity and thermal breakdown. Because some people have more important things to worry about than motor oil. Castrol GTX. Drive hard.
There are a lot of different names Chrysler Canada vehicles can go by. But for maintenance service, there's only one name you need to know to keep them going. Whether it's on the track, off the track, or on the road. The one name that knows your vehicle best. Chrysler 5-star service. Only at your local Chrysler dealer. Great people, great service.
Don't make things like they used to. Whatever happened to quality?
In my day, we cared about craftsmanship.
How about service?
Dave Lennox founded his heating and cooling company and what was important to customers.
Those things will never go out of style.
Trust me. And the Lennox quality dealer standards make sure you'll get those things from Lennox dealers today.
Of course, you know what I really miss? Those little licorice drops you used to sell.
Lennox, one less thing to worry about.
Well, you've been there, Buck. How long does it take a new catcher to get a read on these guys?
Well, we
Wines, he works.
we pretty much got it now. You know, it's going to be a good year.
You want to get some ice on that thing?
Man, it's still got the good hair.
Our 10th season on the road, and we're still motoring. Motoring 97, Sundays only on TSN.
Well, the delay wasn't even 5 minutes. The second formation lap is underway. Let's go right back to Spain.
Being told that he's got to drop to the back of the grid. It's a bitter pill for him to swallow, but it's his fault. He lost the engine.
Well, of course, you know, the whole race has come to a grinding halt because he stalled his engine. All of the television stations around the world have had to change their programming. Everything's happening. There has to be some kind of penalty for the driver to make him concentrate on the start and make sure he doesn't stall the engine. That's the organisers' way of saying, this is, you know, if you get it wrong, you're going to pay the price. Of course, it could be some kind of technical problem. Remember, the clutches, there's all kinds of sensors and systems to operate the clutch, or putting the car into first gear, or finding neutral, and it may not have been Ralph's fault entirely, maybe some system fault, but the net result is for Jordan and for Ralph Schumacher starting at the back.
Yeah, I see, you can see just the sole Jordan there, the yellow car, behind the Ferrari of Michael Schumacher. So that yellow Jordan is Fisichella's car, so somewhere out of our sights. Ralph Schumacher backed off and is now rolling round, well, driving round at the back of the grid as for the second time. Yeah, Ralph Schumacher apparently has just said the car died on me. Now, we're with Heinz-Harald Frentzen now. And he will be dodging over to the other side of the grid to line up slightly behind his teammate Villeneuve.
Well, just to confirm, Gerhard Berger's car was pushed through the pack back into his original 6th place starting position. Better to be born lucky than rich today, Gerhard.
Yeah, watch him. You can see him. He's in the 6th position. Villeneuve pole position. Frentzen is 2nd. Coulthard in the silver. McLaren is 3rd on the grid. Then it's Alesi Häkkinen and Gerhard Berger 6th. Let's hope they all get away. You can see the blank space in the grid behind Michael Schumacher's Ferrari. And that's the space that was occupied previously by Ralph Schumacher. 65 laps to go, and it is go. Now, lovely start by Villeneuve. David Coulthard's coming up quite well. Salo in the Tyrrell going for it. And someone sprint getting through on the outside now. What's happening? It's Coulthard. David Coulthard has got ahead of Frenson and Villeneuve, and he took the lead. Has he held it? No. Jacques Villeneuve on the right-hander there has got past, but that was another meteoric start from David Coulthard in the McLaren, and he's not using it. And look at Schumacher. Incredible! Michael Schumacher has steered up through the field. He started way down in 9th position, and he's now up behind Villeneuve. I can hardly believe this. He's taken 7 places in just a few yards, not even half a lap. Villeneuve leads, Schumacher is second. Now, significantly, Michael Schumacher is in the spare Ferrari. He had the 2 cars set up different ways, and he's opted for the one that's obviously right for the circumstances. Villeneuve leads, Schumacher is third, and David Coulthard in the McLaren is in 3rd position behind 2nd place Michael Schumacher, and Frenson has dropped right back as they come out of turn 9 in this 11-corner circuit, down towards turn 11 at 130 miles an hour to complete lap 1, go into the 2nd lap, and the Germans in the grandstand are going berserk. They see their man Michael Schumacher up 7 places, and in 4th position it's Alesi. Frenson has been passed by Schumacher, Coulthard, Alesi and Häkkinen, and he's down in 6th position. Heinz-Harald Frenson, to whom this race matters so much, has dropped from 2nd on the grid to 6th in the race. Jacques Villeneuve leads, Schumacher 2nd, Coulthard 3rd, so it is Williams, and then the Ferrari, and then the McLaren. You can see it's already dropping back, but I'm amazed at how close Michael Schumacher is, considering how gloomy he's been, and he was 1.7 seconds off the pace in qualifying.
Well, he's come from 7th to 2nd, but nonetheless it's still an incredible performance. And remember, he had to go into the T car in qualifying, and I don't believe his grid position represented just how fast he can go. But this is going to be a very, very physical race, and I think that puts Schumacher in good shape for that also. But Villeneuve's no slouch. Now watch, Frenson bogs down off the line and has to have a second bite at it. Now look at Schumacher. He follows Coulthard through initially on the right-hand side, our right-hand side, and brakes laid up the inside, takes Frenson, keeps it all together. Coulthard tries to go round Villeneuve. Villeneuve will not give. Coulthard ends up on the outside, has to get out of the throttle, and that gives Michael Schumacher there in 3rd place at the moment a run at Coulthard into turn 4. He obviously took him, and he's in a great position now for him.
David Coulthard is the fastest man on the track. He's closed the gap between himself and Michael Schumacher. David Coulthard just gone round in 1 minute 23.9 compared with Hill's lap record of 124.5. Early days in the race, heavy fuel load, they'll go faster. There is no sign of rain at the moment. The sky's dark and grey overhead. The flags are straining even more at the flagpoles as we join Michael Schumacher, double world champion, chasing Jacques Villeneuve, who is a very strong contender this year, but at the present moment is 4 points behind the man we're riding with. Michael Schumacher in the Ferrari, down to the very quick straight into turn 8. La Faixa starts to climb here. Now turn 9, that's about 75 miles an hour. Villeneuve ahead, and Michael Schumacher gaining a few yards on him. Now these are the last 2 corners. That is turn 10. Turn 11 coming up is absolutely crucial, because the faster you can get out of it, the faster you can go down this long straight. Now, Villeneuve was 0.478 seconds ahead of Michael Schumacher on the previous lap. He's increased that lead by 0.3 of a second. Coulthard is still 3rd. Alesi is now the fastest man on the circuit. John Alesi is catching Coulthard, who is catching Schumacher. And between the 2nd and 4th men, there are about 1.5 seconds. And in 5th position, it's Mika Häkkinen. So the 2 McLarens are well up, 3rd and 5th.
The pace is relatively slow. Remember, they qualified on a 16.5 for pole position. But I think the track is going to be very green. And by that we mean we had a lot of rain briefly this morning, and there's been 2 races since, and that tends to lift the rubber off the track that the Formula 1 cars have put down over the weekend. and takes away a lot of the grip. And it's going to take time now for the drivers to find a new level of grip and to understand how hard they can push the car. This is Schumacher getting away well. That's brave going through the middle there. Had the lift out momentarily. And now he's got himself well positioned for the inside of turn 1. And he says, I'm going to brake after you, Lacey. Whenever you brake, I'm braking later. He can see the chaos ahead of him there. Now he knows he's going to have a run at Coulthard on the way out of turn 3.
And that was an absolutely sensational start. 7th when the race started, when the lights went out, up into 2nd place on the first lap, reminiscent of the great lap of Ayrton Senna in the European Grand Prix at Donington. Not quite as good because Senna took the lead, but now Villeneuve is extending his lead. The Canadian seems to me to be in control of things. He's 1.3 seconds ahead of Michael Schumacher. Villeneuve has just made the fastest lap of the race so far, and we're on lap 5 out of 65. He's 1.3 seconds ahead of Michael Schumacher. You can see how close the Ferrari is to the McLaren behind it. There is the gap before Jean Alesi in the Benetton. The Benetton going much better here in Spain than it has at previous circuits because they've done a lot of work here testing and were able to get the heat into the tyres that they needed.
Well, I think Villeneuve's going to run and hide now for the rest of the afternoon. He has the fastest car on the circuit. We do know it is faster than the Ferrari, even with Michael Schumacher turning the steering wheel. There's going to be the scrap now that's going to be of interest to us, I think, is Schumacher, Coulthard, Alesi, Hakkinen, and then Frentzen. We've seen earlier in the year when Frentzen gets buried back into the pack, he hasn't seemed to make any impression thereafter during the Grand Prix. So it's an important test for him. He needs to close that gap to Villeneuve in the World Championship. He's 10 points behind him still, and he can't afford to drop another 5 or 6 to him today.
Right, now keep watching the leaders. Here's some good news for Damon Hill fans. He started 15th on the grid. He is now in 11th place. He's having a terrific battle with Mika Salo in the V8 powered Tyrrell with the Ford engine, a new Ford engine. Hill is trying to get into the top 10. He's on lap 6. He's yet to finish a race effectively in 1997. He's going well at the present moment. Johnny Herbert is in 7th place, 1.3 seconds behind Heinz-Harald Frentzen. The best the German can do is still only 6th place, and he is 0.8 of a second behind Mika Hakkinen.
Well, another guy had a great start. I saw him going around the outside of all the uncertainty. Was Mika Salo, pulling a full 7 places from his grid position. Sorry, 6 places. So good starts all around for a few people.
McCarthy knows a thing or two about dependability.
I bought it fresh out of school, and I've done 130,000 kilometers in this thing with no major repairs. Been there, done that, got the bumper sticker. I love my Suzuki, come rain or shine. See the world in a Suzuki.
When Leanne wanted Japanese quality at a great price, she turned to one of the world's largest vehicle makers, Suzuki. All you have to do
is drive one.
When anything needs lubricating, you can use new non-flammable liquid wrench with Teflon, or you can use WD-40 and dress accordingly. New liquid wrench with Teflon, the only non-flammable aerosol lubricant. Hey, nice threads.
Looking for something different for lunch? Well, look no further. Introducing Wendy's fresh stuffed pitas. Warm, soft pitas overflowing with chicken breast fillet, fresh vegetables, and delicious dressing. So, what do you think?
I think your search is over.
It's easy to use. Call for more places in the world with a savings plan that goes just about everywhere you do. Our calling card, the best
trust card, period.
That's where he's going to take him into turn one. But meanwhile, closing in behind them is Lacey and Hakkinen with Frentzen in the distance.
Yeah, Villeneuve is clearing off. 3.5 seconds he leads by now. Another fastest lap from the French-Canadian in the Williams. 1:22.6 compared with the lap record of Damon Hill some time ago, 24.5. So that's a new lap record for Jacques Villeneuve. But Schumacher is holding Coulthard up. He can't get past the Ferrari. That's giving Lacey the opportunity to close, and he's doing so in fourth position. Mika Hakkinen is right behind the Benetton. So we've got second, third, fourth and fifth together. Schumacher, Ferrari, Coulthard, McLaren, Lacey, Benetton, Hakkinen in the McLaren. Heinz-Harald Frentzen must have some sort of trouble. He's 2 seconds behind Hakkinen, ahead of Herbert Berger, Fisichella and Salo in 10th position, still battling with Damon Hill 11th.
I'm not sure Coulthard is still close enough. He's hurting too much. His front tyres coming out of that last corner, staying in Schumacher's slipstream. We can't see Coulthard from there. Sure, Schumacher can. He's not really having to defend the line too much. So I assume David is not up alongside him on this lap. But that's the corner he's going to take him on the way into this complex. This is turn 3, the everlasting turn 3. Really tough on the car, really tough on your neck. Michael Schumacher amazed me yesterday. I said, really, how are the cars to drive these days? Are they tougher with the extra grip? He said, yeah, for the first time I came here in testing and I had a sore neck at the end of each day. And it's not often you hear him say that, if ever.
Well, if Michael Schumacher says that, it must be tough. He is without doubt the toughest and the fittest man in Formula One.
Well, that's a 10-second penalty there for Gianni Morbidelli. We told you about the sensors on the start line and the sensor in each of the cars. They can see it on graph paper a few minutes after the start itself, and it shows up if anybody moved before those red lights went out, and obviously Morbidelli did. That means Morbidelli is going to have to come into the pit lane and stop in his own pit garage, and he'll be timed by his own team. They trust the teams to do that for 10 seconds and then depart. So it's about a 30-second penalty also when you've negotiated the pit lane.
Yeah, Gianni Morbidelli, who has replaced Larini in the Sauber team, hadn't driven in a Grand Prix for some 18 months, so he's a bit rusty, and Coulthard is going for it, but Michael Schumacher can see exactly where he is. But David is really harrying him, and I'll tell you how much, because Jacques Villeneuve is now 8.8 seconds ahead on lap 10 out of 65, and he's by far the fastest man on the race. This race is effectively being controlled by Michael Schumacher holding everybody up.
And this is where Schumacher is particularly so. The car looks evil going into that bumpy area there. He's run wide again, look. It looks evil on the bumps into those slower corners, and he's having to be so careful on the way in. And that means they're losing 3 seconds a lap at the moment to Villeneuve. And any minute now, Michael Schumacher is going to have to start driving very, very defensively, and they're going to lose even more time. Villeneuve's got it all, really is looking very good for him.
Yeah, another lap record for Jacques Villeneuve on lap 9. He's on lap 10 now, almost at the end of it. 1:22.5. He's really pulling away, building up the biggest possible cushion so that when he comes in to make his tyre and fuel stop, he will have as big a lead as possible and will be able to join down the field, but not in too much traffic, he hopes. That's the critical thing. So, into lap 11, and Villeneuve is already there. Now 11.6 seconds ahead of Schumacher. Coulthard.
Well, Coulthard's closest now. This is into the turn 1 we talked about. Yes, no, Schumacher's cut his nose off. David was too hesitant there. Probably rightly so, actually, otherwise he could have easily been out of the race. But Schumacher really kept his head and said, you're not coming through there. And David was only half-hearted about getting through.
Well, this is reminding me about Thierry Boutsen in the Williams at Hungary in 1990, whenever it was, because Schumacher is just staying where he is, and he's saying, get past me if you can, and they can't. And if Coulthard could get past the Ferrari, I'm sure he could narrow the gap.
Reminds me of Gilles Villeneuve in Jarama many, many years ago when he held up a train a train of, that's Morbidelli leaving the pits after his 10-second stop-and-go penalty, after the Ferrari held up a train of cars for the entire distance, more or less. But he was fighting for the lead there. At the moment, it's for second place.
Well, it may be all Villeneuve's race, but it's a great race after him, because there's only 4 seconds between second and seventh, and Coulthard is now on the inside. He's going through.
That's a replay, Murray, of the incident we saw earlier where he got nipped into the apex and Schumacher holding his ground. But that's where he's going to overtake Michael Schumacher, and then he's going to be scampering off into the distance after Villeneuve.
So there is the race for second.
Here we go again. No, he didn't even dive out that time. Didn't feel he was close enough. Didn't want to give up and come out on the wrong line. Felt he couldn't make the move that time and wanted to keep on the clean part of the track and not. Look at Schumacher running so wide there. He's hurting. His tyres are shot away already. And they're back in the 26s now. In fact, cars back in 7th and 8th place are faster than this bunch altogether. Schumacher's tyres are absolutely no good at all to him at the moment. Look at him. He's really struggling to keep the car where he wants it on the racetrack.
And this is helping Heinz-Harald Frentzen in 6th position. You see, Coulthard can do nothing about Schumacher. Alesi can do nothing about Coulthard. Hakkinen can do nothing about Alesi, but Frentzen can do something about Hakkinen because there's a gap between them and he's closing it. So Schumacher, Coulthard having a look, Alesi, Hakkinen, and then Frentzen, and Johnny Herbert is right with Frentzen.
Look at Schumacher's tyres, if you can home in on his rear tyres particularly. In fact, all 4 of his tyres. See the car snaking there. There's bands around them. The tyres are angry. They have had some blisters this weekend on the Goodyears, and blisters can come whether you get heat spots in the tyres, where the tyres are running way over their normal operating temperature in certain areas, and the tyre sort of erupts, and then you lose a massive amount of grip. Yes, look at the right rear tyre of Schumacher there. He's got blisters on his tyres, and that means that's why he's going so slowly.
And David Coulthard will be able to see that. And meantime, your prophecy is absolutely right, Martin. Villeneuve is running off and hiding. He is now over 16 seconds ahead on lap 13 as his teammate Heinz-Harald Frentzen desperately tries to catch the car in front of him, which is Mika Hakkinen. Ralf Schumacher in the pits. He was in 13th place. This is the first pit stop that we've had pretty early on. But Ralf Schumacher said just before the race began, he was really worried about wear to the left front tyre of the Jordan. He said it's really caning the left front here in Spain. But look at that enormous gap as you look down between the leader, Jacques Villeneuve, and now that train of cars as Coulthard attacks.
Well, if Schumacher's on a 3-stop strategy, and I hope he is for his sake because his tyres are ready for a stop now, then he's really got to just last another 2 or 3 laps to keep on schedule. And then he'll have to treat those fresh tyres with a little bit more care. The track is rubbering in all of the time. Coulthard is really in good shape this time for a punt down the inside. Yes, he's going to make it. He's made it this time. Up into second place for David Coulthard, and Schumacher is really on the defensive. He should come in now. He's going to sail backwards. He should hold them up as much as he can and pit as soon as he can.
Yeah, because Jordan Alesi is swarming all over him now. Coulthard will be able to get away. There's Alesi having a look. Hakkinen right up behind Alesi. Frentzen right up behind Hakkinen. And Johnny Herbert in 7th position. Look back. There is the Sauber. And yes, already David Coulthard is taking advantage of the fact that he's got ahead of Michael Schumacher to pull away. But he's got an enormous gap to close. Nearly 20 seconds between him and Villeneuve. Villeneuve potentially will almost be able to come in, make a stop and rejoin in the lead.
Well, we've got Ferrari in the pit lane, covers sort of coming off. McLaren mechanics out in the pit lane looking ready for a stop. I think they'll leave Coulthard out. I think they should leave Coulthard out. They're obviously going to bring him in because he was tucked up behind Schumacher, but now he's past him. Now they've got the covers off, they're still going to bring him in fact. Lap 14. 15 at the end of this lap, so they're still going to stop the McLaren, and the Ferrari's in the pits. Schumacher's in the pits, and Coulthard is in the pits too.
Here's Coulthard into the pit lane, and James Allen Hackenen will be able to talk to him, hopefully, but no, David, now you see we've got the times running, and here is the pit time coming up for David Coulthard, and with him is Michael Schumacher. So, Coulthard, 6 seconds, James Allen.
Wow, that was so close. Michael Schumacher dropped the clutch just as John Lacey came in. How they missed each other, I will never know. Meanwhile, David Coulthard in at the same time. My God, that was really, really close. 3 of the main runners that could have been eliminated in a single stroke. Slightly slow stop from Schumacher, but boy, looking at his tyres now, they are absolutely finished.
Yeah, and you can see that Mika Hakkinen there behind John Lacey is giving his tyres a very hard time. So David Coulthard has slipped down the field. John Lacey is up into second place. Williams are getting ready to bring Frentzen in. And meantime, Zach Villeneuve stays out, 22 seconds ahead. There's the battle for second. Lacey and Hakkinen, and Michael Schumacher has been in, and so, of course, has David Coulthard.
So we know all the key players in this race are 3 stopping now. And Hakkinen, the McLaren mechanics are still out in the pit lane, so they should be expecting Hakkinen this time round. They have the covers off. Williams are ready. We think it's Frentzen, as Murray said. He's running a few seconds behind.
Yeah,
McLaren is in the pits.
Yeah, and it was Mika Hakkinen who dived in. Mika Hakkinen dived into the pit lane from 3rd position. There's Lacey by himself. So Frentzen is up into 3rd place now. And he, of course, has yet to stop. Race leader Villeneuve hasn't stopped. Hakkinen gets out. You notice how short the pit stops are. 6 seconds for Coulthard, 5.7 seconds for Mika Hakkinen.
Well, that's not a good way to stop your rear tyres blistering. The way Mika Hakkinen left the pits there, the surface temperature as he's spinning the wheels like that and smoking them away is enormous. He's going to blister those before he gets on the racetrack if he's not careful.
We're on lap 16, 1/6 out of 65. You're watching John Lacey, who is in second place, and he's 21.6 seconds behind Villeneuve. Neither of them have stopped. Here's a replay coming towards us. Michael Schumacher. David Coulthard dives out of his slipstream as they go into turn 1. John Lacey is behind now in 4th position as Coulthard moves up into second place, and Hakkinen in 5th position has a look, and he's now been into the pits. That is John Lacey. He's in second position, and Villeneuve, I wonder what sort of a strategy Villeneuve is. He on a 3-stop?
Well, interestingly, Lacey's not come in the pits, and his mechanics are not even looking like they're about to get ready for a stop. Maybe Lacey's going for a 2-stop from Berger for a 3-stop. It's a good way to split the team up if the call is close. But we know that Frentzen is coming in to James.
Well, Martin, they say racing drivers who are at the very top can't have on days and off days. They must always be on it. I saw Frentzen having another off day today. The tyres have just come off his car are very heavily blistered, particularly the right rear. But, Williams having a bit of a tough time with Frentzen. Meanwhile, Villeneuve sailing majestically on. We'll wait to see now whether they bring out the tyre covers for Villeneuve. But interestingly, Martin, Villeneuve using quite a lot less downforce than Heinz-Harald Frentzen. So he should be wearing the tyres more, I would have thought.
Well, I can tell you this, that Jean Lacey in second place on lap 17 is closing marginally on Jacques Villeneuve. He's taken 1 second out of him on the previous lap. Villeneuve's lead has been reduced from 21.6 to 20.6 seconds. You're watching the race leader. He's on his 17th lap. He's going through to complete it, so no question of stopping there. Jean Lacey on a terrific charge, yet to stop. Frentzen up into 3rd place, and Fissy Keller is now 4th, and Damon Hill is in 5th position. Damon Hill in the Arrows Yamaha is higher than he has ever been this season. Higher not by a few seconds, but by a month in comparative terms. A terrific performance, whatever reason. Some of it, of course, will be due to the fact that people have been in for tyres and he hasn't, but never mind. Hill is in, and now Villeneuve leads. There he is. Lacey is in 2nd position, and Fissy, and Hill stops. Oh, as I say it. Oh, that is 6 races and 6 failures for Damon Hill. And even his patience and tolerance must now be severely tested. He gives the thumbs up to show to his ex-Williams teammates, ironically enough, that he's perfectly all right. but it's obviously a sick motor car. I don't know, but I imagine from the way he stopped so quickly that it was engine, and you can see just from his body language that he must be saying to himself, how much longer can this go on?
Well, yes, it's either Magnussen there just leaving his pit stop. It was either gearbox or engine. Obviously, we saw the steam and smoke coming out from the back. What a shame. He was having a good scrap with Eddie Irvine, just 0.3 of a second away from him. I know he was stopping. He was due in on lap 20, so just 2 laps to go to his first stop. Running up there in 5th place. What a shame for Damon Hill.
Yep, deep breath. Lap 19 out of 65. There's the leader, Jacques Villeneuve. 22 seconds, as near as makes no difference, ahead of Jean Alesi, now lapping faster again than the Frenchman in the Benetton, who's up into a good second position, ahead of Giancarlo Fisichella, who's in the pit lane. There he is, so he will have lost his 3rd position now to David Coulthard, who has stopped. Eddie Irvine is in 5th place in the Ferrari, but has not stopped, and Olivier Panis, the top Bridgestone runner, all the rest are on Goodyears, in the top 6 places. Panis is in 6th place, just half a second behind Irvine, having a colossal battle.
Well, they've obviously fueled Villeneuve to do a 2-stop race, and probably kept a 3-stop strategy up their sleeve if they needed to. He's got such a cruising lead here that they look like they could well stretch Villeneuve. If he can get this, Damon Hill, it looks like an engine, the left-hand bank of the engine's given up the ghost, and there he is pulling off onto the safe side of the racetrack. So Villeneuve, if he can get to 20 or 21, stretches it to being a 2-stop race, makes it even easier for him. We understand he's in next lap. Villeneuve in next lap, lap 20. And the other 2 drivers looking like they're on a 2-stopper is Alesi and Fisichella.
You could see the Williams mechanics already in a cluster at the end of the pit lane. I'm looking directly across the track at them now. They're in that classic formation, the U formation, that the driver just drives into. The tyres and wheels are all ready. As ever, Villeneuve puts his wheels on the curb and then lap Eddie Irvine in from 6th position. And that means to say Michael Schumacher goes up into 6th place, back into the points again. Michael Schumacher, who has stopped. And the tyre covers are off for Jacques Villeneuve. He's certainly coming in with a 22-second lead over Jean Alesi. Now he's coming out of turn 9 at the present moment, behind Gianni Morbidelli in 18th place. As you look at the McLaren, and Villeneuve comes out of the last corner very quickly. David Coulthard there in 3rd position, into the pit lane, James Allen.
Yes, the race leader comes in, a set of tyres that have already been used, scrubbed in, go onto the race leader's car. Fuel goes in. It'd be interesting to see if they put a lot of fuel in to try and stretch him through for a 2-stop. But 8.3 seconds, good stop by Williams. I must just tell you about the little cameo. When Damon Hill flew up, he walked through the Williams garage. He gave me a little wink as he went through, so he's obviously not too upset. He walked straight past Frank Williams, who was looking at his television set. Frank didn't even look up. Damon walked out of the back of the garage. What a difference a year makes.
Great stop there for Villeneuve. He was in 1st gear, absolutely ready to go, and that'll put him back easily out into the lead. Scrub tyres, I think that's a smart move. New tyres today, they build up an extra 10 or 15 degrees centigrade on brand new tyres around a circuit like this, and that can often be enough to tip them over the top into blistering. And I'm surprised how many stickers are going on the cars. Used tyres, they've had a heat cycle, they've had a scrub sometime through the weekend, and that makes the rubber a little bit harder, and that means they're a bit tougher and less prone to blistering.
Ted Garden knows a thing or two about reliability.
We've got to be able to go places other 4x4s can't. I've built up a fleet of these. When it comes to the job site, it comes to work, not to be worked on. I think they're bulletproof.
When Ted needed the kind of Japanese quality he could trust for years to come, he turned to one of the world's largest vehicle makers, Suzuki. All you have to do
is drive one.
For a limited time, get $1,000 cash back on any 97 Suzuki Sidekick.
When it comes to shocks, one name shines brightest. Monroe Sensatrack, the best ride ever.
With worn shocks, your car handles like this.
But with new Monroe Sensatrack installed by your technician at the Specialist, your car performs better on bumpy roads for improved road handling and a smoother, safer ride. And remember Monroe's Spring Special, 4 shocks for the price of 3. At the Specialist, your car care center.
No, this dust has bothered me for years. I want revenge.
Dust sufferers everywhere are discovering Reactin.
Yes. All right, Dust. It's payback time.
Reactin, now available without a prescription in 5 and 10 milligram strengths.
You missed a spot.
While we were away, Jean Alesi in first place, pitted for tires. And you can see the smoke coming off. That's brake dust, carbon fiber brakes, new tires on. Stop for Alesi. And while he's in, Jacques Villeneuve has regained the lead as we go back to Spain.
The way through the Spanish Grand Prix here at the Catalunya circuit. Jarno Trulli is 17th behind Ralf Schumacher. We're on lap 23, and as you watch race leader Jacques Villeneuve used from Louise Goodman with Damon Hill in the pits.
Damon, I hate to blame Murray Walker. He was just telling us how well you were going, but it was looking good for you.
Yes, it was looking very good. And I was genuinely up in the points, well, knocking on the door of the points. And we were on a 2-stop strategy, and the car was running like a train, but unfortunately had engine failure.
How confident were you for the race today?
Well, I wasn't optimistic, overly optimistic, but my goal was to finish. You know, I thought, you know, we have to finish a race, really, for the team and for the morale and everything. So it's very disappointing, especially as the car was going quite well in the race.
But what was it happening at the finish there?
The engine blew up. Yeah.
Back to you, Murray.
Well, to nobody's great surprise, one sadly has to say, because the Yamaha engine has been giving an enormous amount of trouble this year. It's conventional wisdom that the Arrows team are unlikely to be using it next year because they're talking to other engine manufacturers, but as far as I know, no decision has definitely been made, but there is a definite leader, very much so. It's Jacques Villeneuve, and we're on lap 24 of the 65-lap Spanish Grand Prix as you look down at Alesi and Michael Schumacher. Alesi in the Benetton Renault, Michael Schumacher in the Ferrari, round that long turn 3, up to another long one, which is turn 4. And Jacques Villeneuve is back again as the fastest man on the track in Spain, and he looks as though he's well on his way to a third win of 1997.
Panis in third place hasn't yet stopped. I can see his mechanics in the pit lane getting ready, but obviously the Bridgestones are lasting well for him here. The tyres have been a bit hard all weekend. All of the Bridgestone runners are in the second half of the grid in qualifying, but the durability of the tyre through the race looks good, and Panis is the surprise performer so far. Why is Michael Schumacher so far back? We don't know at the moment, lapping in the 23s. And what's happened to Heinz-Harald Frentzen? He's miles off the pace in 8th place doing 26s. I don't know what he does in the middle of a race when it's not going well for him, whether he loses his head or just can't seem to. In fact, he's dropped to 9th place now on a 28.0. He's obviously got some kind of mechanical problem.
And that is Gerhard Berger in 10th position in the Benetton, ahead of Eddie Irvine in 11th place. Now we're on lap 25. Here is the order. Jacques Villeneuve is 3.7 seconds ahead of David Coulthard. They have both had their stops. We think David Coulthard's on a 3-stop strategy. There he is. We're pretty certain that Villeneuve is on a 2-stop strategy. Olivier Panis is third as you watch Ukyo Katayama. And there is David Coulthard. Panis is in third position, 6.8 seconds behind Coulthard, but going quicker. And he has yet to stop. Hakkinen is in fourth place, so both the McLarens are in the top 4 places. That's David Coulthard. Fifth is Jean Alesi, who is right behind Mika Hakkinen in the McLaren. Michael Schumacher is in the points at 7th. Johnny Herbert is in 7th position ahead of Fisichella. And David Coulthard going through the field, passing Mika Salo in the Tyrrell Ford. And he is in 18th place. He's now been lapped by Villeneuve. He's been lapped by Coulthard. And in comes Panis. This is the stop we've been waiting for. This is the last man to make a stop. Olivier Panis goes out, and he will almost certainly has lost third position to Mika Hakkinen. So now the McLarens are second and third. Good news for Woking.
You saw Panis very calm there in his pit stop, cleaning the mirrors with his hands. You have to keep the steering wheel straight so that the guys changing the front tyres have something permanent to aim at so they can put the wheel on. But this is the fight now for third place between Hakkinen and Alesi. Hakkinen locking front wheels as he has been doing all weekend. And I think Alesi's car's faster, so I would expect him to be crawling all over the back of this McLaren for the next few laps until he can pass him. Williams mechanics out in the pit lane. They've seen Frentzen dropping back with poor lap times, and they're obviously expecting him in now. I'd be surprised if it's just tyres.
And a real lock up there from Mika Hakkinen, who certainly does give his tyres a very, very hard time. Round turn 9. John Alesi, who's had a lot of criticism, but nevertheless has had some good places this year. He's been up in the points twice this season. He's only had a couple of failures to finish. One of them for running out of fuel in Australia. He wasn't at all popular for that. And the tyre covers are now off for Heinz-Harald Frentzen to come in, and he is down in 9th position, lapping 126.9, compared with his teammate Villeneuve, 123.5. So, looking down at the battle, Hakkinen, behind Mika Hakkinen, you see Alesi, and behind Alesi you see Schumacher, James Allen, then Frentzen.
Well, I can tell you, Murray and Martin, what the problem with Frentzen is today. It's terrible blistering of the tyres. I'm inspecting that one now that's coming towards me, and that's the left front. There's a huge band across it. It's a real mess. Back to you.
Good time to come back because Michael Schumacher, look at him. He's doing now what he did at the beginning of the race. He's gaining places hand over fist, and Michael Schumacher is right up with Jean Alesi. He has passed Mika Hakkinen.
Yes, well, obviously we've missed it while we were watching Frentzen in the pits. The TV director from Spain here missed the action, but clearly, here we go, we're going to get a replay. Hakkinen's running wide. Alesi's already passed him and had a go at him, put him offline, and Schumacher's used that opportunity to creep through, and now he's giving Alesi a hard time for good measure. Good scrap there for third, fourth and fifth.
Race order, lap 28, Villeneuve, he's only 3 seconds ahead of David Coulthard. They're lapping in identical times to the nearest 100th of a second as Mika Hakkinen, fifth now, comes into the pits. Coulthard is second, Alesi is third, Schumacher is fourth. Johnny Herbert will now go up into fifth position ahead of Mika Hakkinen. And and Fisichella will too.
Well, they put a lot of fuel in that car. Whether they actually touched earlier on before we had the replay, I don't know. But obviously he must have had blistered tyres too, because he's way out of sequence to come in on lap 27 for his second stop. Way out of sequence, much earlier than you would have expected him. Probably 5 laps earlier than he should have been in. So Hakkinen probably suffering from blisters too. The track temperature is going to be rising all the time. The sun is out again now, as you can see, glistening off of the red Ferrari there. So tyres The Goodyear tyres look as if they've just been too soft for this race.
Yeah, the track temperature is up to 27 degrees now. It has been as high as 32 degrees on previous days, but it's much hotter now than it has been today. And Michael Schumacher that we're riding with is pursuing Jean Alesi for third position. You can see how close it is out of turn 9, coming through to complete the lap.
Now, what damages these rear tyres? What damages the rear tyres is wheel spin. That's what gives you the surface temperature. That's what gives you the blistering, the little eruptions of rubber that mean that basically the normal carcass of the tyre is not on the tarmac and not giving you the grip you normally expect.
Has Jacques Villeneuve got a problem? Because David Coulthard is catching him. 1:24.6 was Villeneuve's last lap time. 1:23.6 was Coulthard's last lap time. And the gap has come down to under 2 seconds. David Coulthard, the man who won the Australian Grand Prix at Melbourne for McLaren Mercedes, is catching Jacques Villeneuve, the winner in Brazil, the winner in Argentina, the man who failed to finish in Monaco. And Jacques Villeneuve is seemingly in a little trouble as Eddie Irvine comes into the pits to make his second stop. There he is. Only 6.5 seconds. He came in from 10th position, but he's now made 2 stops. There's Villeneuve and Coulthard now. This is the battle for the lead. And into the pits goes David Coulthard. That was the answer. So remember, Jacques Villeneuve is on a 2-stop strategy. David Coulthard is certainly on a 3-stop strategy. Lap 30, and Coulthard is in for the second time. James Allen.
Well, David Coulthard comes in. We were deprived of a decent battle. Slight hesitancy about the McLaren mechanic. 10.9 seconds. 7.9 seconds, I beg your pardon. Looking at the tyre wear, pretty good, but I have to say that Coulthard and Alesi are using their tyres less than either of the Williamses. For some reason, Frentzen is really eating the tyres. Villeneuve not too bad, but Alesi's tyres do look rather lovely when they come off, and he's looking pretty strong today, I have to say.
Well, not nearly strong enough at the moment. He's nearly 18 seconds behind the man you are watching, Jacques Villeneuve, the brilliant Canadian who hit Formula One like a cyclone last year and won races in his very first season of Formula One. And he's now, as I say, 18 seconds ahead. That is Gerhard Berger, 9th. Or he was when he came in. And Frentzen behind him. Nakano is going well, the Japanese driver in the Prostmugen. He's in 11th place, just out of the top 10. Now look at this lot. That's Katayama with the red visor.
I think there's going to be a lot of lapping going on today because there's a big speed difference between these cars, and the leaders are 2-3 seconds a lap faster than many of these tail enders. It means they're going to lap them at least twice, and we know that that Villeneuve took some wing off on the start line to give him some extra straight line speed to make it easier as Schumacher peels off into the pits.
So Michael Schumacher coming into the pits. He was right up behind Jean Alesi. James Allen.
It's going to be a race won and lost in the pits today, I think, Murray. New set of tyres going onto Michael Schumacher's car. That'll give him some solace because that car is really eating the tyres. But I say again, Jean Alesi on a 2-stop strategy. 6 seconds. That's not a bad stop for Ferrari, but I say again, Jean Alesi on a 2-stop strategy is looking very, very good.
It's the way a house smells when there's bread baking in the oven. The way mothers make sandwiches just right. It's the way we try to know each of our customers by name, or at least by sandwich. And it's the way all your favorite things combine into something even better, right before your eyes. It's the way every day, over 1 million people thank us for making them their favorite sandwich, even though it can be hard to talk with your mouth full. Subway. It's the way a sandwich should be.
There are a lot of different names Chrysler Canada vehicles can go by. But for maintenance service, there's only one name you need to know to keep them going. Whether it's on the track, off the track, or on the road. The one name that knows your vehicle best. Chrysler 5-star service. Only at your local Chrysler dealer. Great people, great service.
Just like an old friend, you can count on and trust.
shine. Right over the rust, treat it to trim clad. Give it some TSN.
More people paint and protect more things with Trimclad than with all other rust paints combined. Make your barbecue really cook this summer with Trimclad's High Heat Flat Black and Barbecue Grill Cleaner Kit.
Third position. Johnny Herbert is not only in the Sauber Petronas up into fourth place, but he's lapping faster than David Coulthard. He's only 1.4 seconds behind the Scotsman. Olivier Panis is lapping faster than Coulthard. He's in fifth position, and he's right with Johnny Herbert. Pissy Keller in the Jordan is in sixth place, and Michael Schumacher is clearing his way through the field again from seventh position after having stopped twice.
Well, Panis certainly is once again lapping very quickly after his first of a two-stop strategy, and Johnny Herbert's crept nicely up there, really almost unnoticed. He's obviously got a nice balance to the car and keeping his tyres in good shape through the entire 22-lap run.
Lap 33 at Barcelona. Race leader, Jacques Villeneuve. He is 17.5 seconds ahead of Jean Alesi. They've both stopped once, and that is Pissy Keller in the pits from seventh position in the Jordan. That is Jarno Trulli, the Italian. He's down in 20th place. He's already been lapped, getting away in the Minardi. So again, lap 33, Villeneuve leads Alesi. There's a 17.5 second gap in terms of time between the two of them. But David Coulthard in third place in the McLaren Mercedes is catching Alesi. Johnny Herbert is fourth in the Sauber Petronas, ahead of Olivier Panis. Coulthard has stopped twice, all the others in the top five have stopped once. Michael Schumacher has stopped twice. He's back in the points again after Pissy Keller's stop. And Michael Schumacher is lapping in 1:23.1 compared with Villeneuve's 1:24.5. So nearly 1.5 seconds faster, Michael Schumacher is lapping than Villeneuve, who you are watching. And Schumacher is now back in the points, sixth position. It's a really, really exciting and interesting race. There's no sign of the rain that we were worried about. And that is Johnny Herbert. See the time ticking away, 6 seconds. And that is Herbert's second stop. He'll be stopping once more. Round about, I would think, lap 44. Johnny Herbert coming in again. But Villeneuve has got to make another stop in what is a two-stop strategy race for him. Alesi in second place, we also know, is on a two-stop strategy.
Well, I don't think anybody can be absolutely sure how many stops they're on. If they get some blistered tyres, they're clearly losing 2 or 3 seconds per lap. I mean, Schumacher, for example, is now back in his fastest lap of the race so far on a 22.7. That lap, he can be back as far as 25s and 26s we saw earlier in the race. And I think a lot of pit stop strategies have gone completely out the window this afternoon. And as we look out of our commentary box window itself, there seems to be as many cars coming down the pit lane as down the pit straight.
And it's heartening that on lap 35 out of 65 of the 22 starters, only 2 have retired. Ukyo Katayama only did a comparatively short distance before he went out. Damon Hill, that is not good news. He was right up into 5th place in the Arrows Yamaha, and he started down in 15th position on the grid. He's gone out with a broken engine, and yet another race is run for him. Yet another failure, sadly, to finish in a Grand Prix, and he's now done 6 of them for the Arrows team. Villeneuve, lap 35, race leader. The lead is coming down. Alesi is lapping faster consistently than Villeneuve, but the French-Canadian has got a very comfortable cushion. A 16-second gap between the two of them will make him feel pretty confident. Not as confident as he might be, and a 20-second gap would be ideal. but he's got those 16 seconds in hand, and David Coulthard seems to have settled down into a rhythm marginally slower in third place than John Lacey. So it's Villeneuve leading. We're riding with him now as he goes through to complete the lap.
Leanne McCarthy knows a thing or two about dependability.
I bought it fresh out of school, and I've done 130,000 kilometers in this thing with no major repairs. Been there, done that, got the bumper sticker. I love my Suzuki, come rain or shine. See the world in a Suzuki.
When Leanne wanted Japanese quality at a great price, she turned to one of the world's largest vehicle makers, Suzuki. All you have to do
is drive one.
Looking for something different for lunch? Well, look no further. Introducing Wendy's fresh stuffed pitas, warm soft pitas overflowing with chicken breast fillet, fresh vegetables, and delicious dressing. So, what do you think?
I think your search is over.
Go where you wanna go. Find the road you've never taken.
Hey folks, check out the all-new Wrangler ATS. Dual traction lug channels sweep water away for serious wet traction, especially in braking.
Serious freedom. Good gear.
Ready? Oh, 1, a 2.
Good gear.
Saskatoon, I can't hear you.
And they really look at the speed that Lacey's taking out of Magnus, and Magnus just keeping out of the way basically, but just not working through the fast corners at all, and they've been seriously off the pace. Lacey going well. He's got a solid second place in the bag. I don't see him making any big inroads into Villeneuve's lead that he established earlier on, but Villeneuve, we understand that Lacey's on a long second stint, but Villeneuve's cruising way up front. We've seen Villeneuve do that so many times, establish a lead and then just hold off, and you begin to wonder if he has problems, but he doesn't seem to have any to our knowledge. But Lacey's car, we know, is working well. James tells us his tyres look good every time he stops, or the one time that he stops, so Lacey in good shape. The race is going on behind him.
There is an 8-point difference between Jacques Villeneuve in the lead and Michael Schumacher, who is in 5th position at the present moment. There is a 4-point difference between them in Schumacher's favour in the World Championship. So if things stay as they are, it means that Jacques Villeneuve is going to move back ahead of Michael Schumacher in the World Championship. Eddie Irvine, who is in 3rd position in the championship, is only 12th in the Spanish Grand Prix, as we watch Michael Schumacher coming through to complete his 37th lap. He's in 5th position. He's continuing to gain on Panis in front of him. The gap between Schumacher, who is 5th, Panis, who is 4th, is just over 6 seconds. Johnny Herbert is in 6th position in the Spanish Grand Prix. In the pit, in the points for the Sauber team.
And there's a left rear tyre's gone on the Tyrrell. He's obviously picked up a puncture, and at the end of the long straight, the centrifugal force of the top speed of the straight keeps the tyre up, and then as you slow down into the corner, finally it's overheated, the shoulders overheat, and the tread of the tyre separates from the sidewall. As you can see there, he did well to not throw that one into the tyre barrier.
Out of the race goes Mika Salo for Tyrrell Ford, and he was in 19th place. He had been lapped, and that makes the 3rd retirement. He joins Ukio Katayama and Damon Hill, and that means to say that and Shinji Nakano is out of the race, so that's the 4th retirement. And Olivier Panis, as you watch David Coulthard in 3rd position, is continuing to catch the McLaren, but he's got to get past the Stewart. Now, Jan Magnussen's got the whole of the straight to move over and let Panis through. Let's see if he does it. There is Coulthard 3rd. And Panis goes through, takes Jan Magnussen in 4th position. Now, it is actually looking good, very good indeed, for Olivier Panis in the blue cross, and Rubens Barrichello is going out of the race. A rather unhappy one for the Stewart team after a superb Monaco, with Rubens Barrichello in 2nd place and Jan Magnussen in 7th position. This is Barrichello's 5th retirement, actually, from 6 races. That 2nd place of his at Monaco was the only finish he's had this year. But, of course, it is enormously difficult for a new team to get the right car, the right engine, the right time. Look at Panis! Panis in 4th position, right up with David Coulthard. Now, this could be a tyre situation. David Coulthard has stopped once. Panis has only stopped twice. It's worth repeating that there's a tyre war here, just as there has been in every other Grand Prix. Goodyear versus Bridgestone. The top 2 are on Goodyear. The top 3 are on Goodyear, and Panis is on Bridgestone.
Well, we saw Panis just before his first stop putting in his fastest lap of the race, so we know his tyres are holding up well. I don't know whether the Mugen Honda's got enough grunt. Yes, it has in the slipstream. He will outbrake him into this corner. Go on, Olive, you can do it. That's right. Up into the inside. Hold your line. Block him off now. Don't let him come back at you. Now, Panis is going to be on the podium this afternoon if he just keeps the pressure up all afternoon. He can go to sleep in the middle of the race from time to time, but I look at the distance he's pulled out already. Panis has a podium in the waiting if he just keeps pushing.
Yeah, your idea of going to sleep is different to mine. Here it is, a replay. Now watch Olivier Panis come out of the slipstream of David Coulthard. You tell us, Martin, that they get the Financial Times and their lunchbox out on the straight. Panis goes to sleep in the race. Comparative terms, Olivier Panis is driving an excellent race. He's up into the points, and Frentzen is in the pits.
Well, yet another set of completely destroyed Goodyears comes off Frentzen's car. I cannot understand the difference between his tyres and Villeneuve's. Perhaps Martin can explain that, but they've gone a different route on setup. I remind you that Villeneuve is using less downforce than Frentzen. The huge chunks missing from these tyres, huge bands all over them. Extraordinary.
Well, I'm sure it's in the traction areas that are damaging those tyres, but also if he doesn't have the same balance and the same driving style as his teammate, he's just going to destroy those tyres. Frentzen's going to have to do 4 stops in this race. Coulthard peeling into the pits. They've been practicing this pit lane. They knew they were going to have problems in this race with tyres. I stood on the inside of that pit lane on Friday, and you cannot believe the speed. They were coming in there up to the speed limit line, 120 kilometers per hour for the final part of the pit lane, and now the exit of the pit lane, he'll be straight onto the limiter, 120k, and you can see the white line he's going over. Now he can switch the limiter off and pedal to the metal and get on with it.
Yep, that was David Coulthard's 3rd and presumably his final stop. We don't know for sure. But Jacques Villeneuve now is 15 seconds ahead of Alesi, who is catching him. There are 25 laps left in the race, and Alesi is catching him at the rate of 1 second a lap.
Well, Coulthard's made 3 stops in 40 laps, Murray. I don't see him doing 25 to the end of the race. I think he's going to have to make a 4-stop race. 5 sets of tyres. Remember, they have to commit as of mid-Saturday to the 7 sets for the rest of the weekend. Benetton coming in the pits. We see it's Gerhard Berger, I believe, for yet another stop. Berger, you can see the time in the corner of the screen from his pit stop. Just departing now. Gerhard never seems to be ready to depart when he's just finished his pit stop, and he's back onto the racetrack.
Well, I'll tell you this, Jean Alesi is continuing to catch Jacques Villeneuve at the exact rate of 1 second a lap. In another 14 laps he could be with him, and that will be lap 56.
You've never seen anything like it. And it's headed for Canadian Tire. More selection. More parts for more makes and models of cars and light trucks. More quality brand names like Certified Brakes, Monroe Shocks, and TRW suspension parts. So now, you'll get the right parts when you need them at guaranteed low prices. Canadian Tire, Canada's auto parts store, made better.
Ted Garden knows a thing or two about reliability.
We've got to be able to go places other 4x4s can't. I've built up a fleet of these. When it comes to the job site, it comes to work, not to be worked on. I think they're bulletproof.
When Ted needed the kind of Japanese quality he could trust for years to come, he turned to one of the world's largest vehicle makers, Suzuki. All you have to do
is drive one.
For a limited time, get $1,000 cash back on any 97 Suzuki Sidekick.
There's something special about owning a John Deere. You wake up a little earlier on weekends. You skip morning coffee. And you really, really hate it when it rains. From trimmers to lawn and garden tractors, your John Deere dealer has all sorts of ways to make your work more enjoyable.
What's your idea of the perfect guy?
My perfect guy has to be smart, kind of shy, with short brown hair.
These are great, huh? What are they called again?
It's a pogo.
No, pogo. That's a funny game they used to play in the old days. Let's have some more pogos.
Who wants more pogos?
Me. Mom.
Pick up a pogo. It's a delicious wiener on a stick made from a secret recipe wrapped in a corn and wheat batter.
I love them too.
The one and only pogo. It's simply delicious.
Restart the car and drop it back down again.
Lap 44, 65-lap race. That's the leader. 13.8 seconds ahead as Lacey, the second-place man, comes into the pits for the second time. Now, obviously, that's going to slow him up and lose him a lot of time. But Jacques Villeneuve, similarly, has also got to come in again as Pedro Diniz leaves the race, leaves the pit lane. He's still running. He's in 11th place in the second arrows. His teammate Damon Hill is retired. That's Villeneuve. Lap 44, 17.8 seconds ahead when Lacey came in.
Now, if I were the Williams team, I'd be getting on the blower now to Villeneuve and say, start pushing again, because Olivier Panis can win this race. Believe me, he has the car underneath him because he has the tyres underneath him that'll stay with the pace. He can lap in the low 22s. Villeneuve's in the low 23s. There's 20 laps to go. Not a lot over 18 seconds in it. If Panis pushes hard, he can win this race. So Villeneuve's got to pick the pace back up again, and that's going to push his tyres maybe over the limits.
So stay tuned, don't go away. Let's join Louise Goodman with Rubens Barrichello.
Rubens, everything seems to go right for you in Monaco. It seems as though nothing's gone right for you this weekend. Why such a big difference in performance?
Well, I think Monaco was, I think the power of the engine was not so important. Here is a little bit more. We're working on it, but we're still suffering from it. So, and then the engine let me down now on the race as well. So we're working on them.
Tell us, how were your tyres last year? I know some of the Goodyear runners are having problems with blistering. How are the Bridgestones holding out?
Well, I was on a two-stop strategy, so I was quite good. I was time-wise, I had Berger in front for a while, and I didn't know which position he was, but I was catching him up, so tires were lasting very well.
Thanks, Rubens. Back to you, Murray.
Lap 45, it's still Villeneuve, but Olivier Panis, who was making the running, and I'm sure will continue to do so, has been in for a second stop. He was in second place at the time. Here is Mika Häkkinen, who was in 7th place in the McLaren, and his teammate David Coulthard in 6th position. But the closing laps of this race are undoubtedly going to be really, really exciting. Villeneuve leading. Michael Schumacher is now challenging, and he has come up from 7th position after his second pit stop. Now here's Villeneuve coming in over to James Allen early.
Well, thank you very much, Murray. There's an awful lot riding on this pit stop. Jacques Villeneuve's driven absolutely beautifully today. We're also expecting Michael Schumacher, so let's hope there's no confusion as Villeneuve exits the pit. He's driven a lovely race. 8 seconds. Panis is still a threat. Lacey's threat is perhaps dwindling now, but well, Villeneuve looking pretty strong, I must say.
And Michael Schumacher at this point is in second position. There is the brilliant German, and I use the word advisedly. He's fought his Ferrari up in a magnificent drive, just like last year's when it was soaking wet and he dominated the race, and he's now in second place, scything his way through the field. Villeneuve, of course, has been in to make his stop. They've just captioned him in first place. That doesn't coincide with my thinking here and the timings. But anyway, there he is, first or second, and we'll know very shortly.
That's right. He's really been flying on this. He obviously kept his tyres nicely. In the early part of the stint, he probably just went easy on them, let them build up temperature. As they go down, as they wear down a little bit, they get less hot, so they're less likely. There's less rubber moving around, and it generates less heat. They're less likely to blister. And then Schumacher pushed very, very hard. He's got some traffic here now. The Ferrari mechanics are out in the pit lane. Blankett's just coming off the tyres now, so usefully for Michael as he's catching that traffic. Watch him steam in that pit lane now. Look how fast he goes in there. See, he's really hard on the gas down and looking for the 120, which might even lock his front to there. 120 kilometres. There they go. You see the two metal strips sticking up at the bottom as to earth the car out while they're refueling it in case there's a spark that causes a fire. Used tyres going on. Good move. Good stop. 6.8. Schumacher's got a good chance of a podium now. Wait for the line. Here comes the line. Now he can really go flat out now towards the first corner. Unfortunately, two cars ahead of him. He'll be disappointed about that. Another one just passing. That's significant. I think that's a Lacey. Just passing him in third place. Schumacher in fourth. What is significant also is that Panis was ahead of Jean Lacey after they rejoined after the pit stop.
Yes, Villeneuve is in the lead. Jacques Villeneuve leads on lap 47 out of 65. Olivier Panis is in second place, and he's not only in second place, but he's gaining on Jacques Villeneuve. Lacey is in third position, just ahead of us. As you look there at the Williams Renault of Jacques Villeneuve.
I think the reason the captions are wrong because the start-finish line is after where they electronically tag the cars into the pit lane. So obviously cars are making pit stops so often, and cars going down the pit straight passing a different line as to why the captions are coming out wrong. Jordan in the pits, Ralf Schumacher back in 11th place, having an awful afternoon, having started at the back of the grid as a penalty for stalling his engine. Back on board with Villeneuve. Now he's got to push. Panis is doing a 22.6, and on that lap actually slipped back to 24.2, I suspect, with traffic. Villeneuve still in the low 23s. Panis has got 13 seconds, neither of them to catch up, neither of them have got to pit again, I would guess. So it's a straight fight now. Can Panis catch Villeneuve?
At Petro-Canada, the Pump and Win sweepstakes are back. And about 1,900 Petro Points members will win prizes instantly every day. Just check your receipt. You could win bonus Petro Points to get great stuff for your car. You could even win one of 10 shiny new Nissan Quests. Pump and Win with Petro Points, only at Canada's gas station. Some tires are best for winter, others for wet weather, or comfort, or durability. Now Michelin gives you the best all-season tire for winter, the best for wet weather, the most comfortable, and one guaranteed for 6 years unlimited mileage. Best of all, it's one tire, Michelin X1, the biggest revolution in tires ever.
Introducing the all-new, more powerful, better handling Honda Prelude. Choose your accessories with caution.
for the end of this race, and then it's going to be a battle royal. As I've said many, many times in the past, and I'll doubtless say many times again, catching up is one thing, getting past is another, and Villeneuve would be very, very hard to pass, but maybe there are more tyre stops yet to come. Tyres are taking a terrible hammering.
But remember back in Brazil, Murray, where Villeneuve, we started talking about has Villeneuve got a problem, and then when in Argentina when he was sick, you know, is he running out of steam? He seems quite content to let somebody just swan up behind him and then just hold them at bay. So maybe he's doing that, but there's not enough of a comfort zone there today, knowing that the tyres can go away from him.
He's just completed a lap. 11.6 seconds was the gap between him and Olivier Panis. I wait for the Prost Mugen to go through, and it's 10.8 seconds. So once again, Panis has reduced the gap. There he is, coming up behind Ralf Schumacher. That is Olivier Panis in second position, right with Ralf Schumacher, who is 13th in the Jordan Peugeot, and a lap behind, effectively, the Prost. Johnny Herbert.
Herbert's fifth place, a great stop for him, 6.5 seconds. The mechanics are really getting slick, and it's not surprising. They've had a lot of work to do this afternoon. They're working as hard as the drivers. Something smoking at the back of the Jordan. Could just have been the left front locked, and then the smoke going up through the Venturi underneath the car, looking like an engine problem. I don't think it was, but this is actually bad news for Panis, because that Jordan's got a stonking Peugeot engine in it, and it's not going to be that easy to pass.
15 laps left at the end of this one, and Villeneuve is leading a very quick Olivier Panis in the background there by some 11 seconds. Jean Alesi is in third position, not gaining on Panis. Michael Schumacher is in fifth position, not at the present moment gaining on Jean Alesi. And Johnny Herbert is in fifth place with David Coulthard catching him. But Coulthard in the McLaren as Irvine leaves the pits in 10th position. Coulthard, sixth in the McLaren, is catching Johnny Herbert. Fisichella is 7th, Hakkinen is 8th, Frentzen 9th.
Right, well, this is significant now for the race. Alesi is beginning to catch Panis because Panis is tucked up behind the Jordan and is not making any impression. He's suddenly in the dirty air of a car that we know is incredibly fast in a straight line here all weekend. So Panis needs to dispatch Schumacher very quickly. Schumacher is smoking a bit. He may take himself out of the race shortly.
Alesi whizzed past Pedro Diniz. Michael Schumacher did exactly the same thing. Now, I said earlier on that the gap between Alesi and Schumacher was 1.2 seconds. Doesn't look that to me on time. We're on lap 51, and Villeneuve looking good for 10 World Championship points. Olivier Panis looking good for his highest finish this year. He was third in Brazil. If he finishes second here, he will get 6 World Championship points to add to the 9 that he has already got. But that's of academic interest, because here is the battle. Alesi third, Schumacher fourth, virtually nothing in it in terms of lap times. Now they're round turn 9, dropping downhill at about 140, 150 miles an hour, backing off slightly for turn 11. Now, if Schumacher comes out of this corner quicker than Alesi, they're building up to 200 miles an hour here. And Schumacher is not only catching Alesi, but Alesi is catching Panis.
Yeah, Panis is still tucked up behind the Jordan. Had a good look out of the commentary box to see them through the last corner. He just can't get close enough to the back of it to get a tow. The Jordan mechanics are out. I don't know whether it will be for Fisichella or Ralf Schumacher. I hope for our sake it's for Ralf Schumacher, but I want to see Panis. I mean, remember, Panis is lapping Ralf Schumacher. He should get out of the way if he can just get close enough to get the blue flags up. There's somebody who's blown up. Yeah. And unless it was a great big cloud of tyre smoke, but that's an awful lot of smoke just coming from the tyres. But I want to see Panis now getting some clear air. Otherwise, we're not going to have a good scrap to the last few laps with Villeneuve. I think it could. That's just taken the steam out of Panis' charge, sadly.
We're on lap 52 now, and it was the Jordan of Ralf Schumacher that caused that smoke. He is out of the race. He was well down in 13th position. He was holding up Panis, so Panis has now got a clear track in front of him. But the gap between Panis and Villeneuve has gone up to 11 seconds, and the gap between Schumacher and Alesi is surely coming down. It was 1 second. Down to the last corner. This is it again. This is where the speed again builds up to 200 miles an hour as they come through to complete their 52nd lap, with Villeneuve now a comfortable 12 seconds ahead of Panis and lapping quicker.
Mountains have rhythm. Water has a groove. You can't fake natural. And you can't fake smooth.
Rocky Mountain Way.
There's nothing you can get into that Simon Eyes can't get out. Absolutely, positively nothing. Dirty faded tires are no match for Simon Eyes foaming tire care. Just spray it on and the foaming action cleans and shines with no wiping. Simon Eyes. We've got as many ways to clean and shine your car as there are to get it dirty. Simon Eyes. Available exclusively at Canadian Tire.
If you see driving like no one else, show them your true colors with VF Goodrich T8 Performance Tires. You see every drive as a trip, every track as an invitation, every curve as a thrill. So do we. VF Goodrich T8 Performance Tires.
Two nearly identical Porsche 911s. One destined for Le Mans, the other for a quieter life in America. But then again, expecting any Porsche to lead a quiet life may be asking a bit too much.
Hi.
Porsche, there is no substitute.
No, this one's on us, sir.
Right.
Alesi third, Schumacher fourth. I'm just trying to work out who it is they're catching. It's probably Jarno Trulli and Morbidelli. Trulli in the Minardi, Morbidelli in the Sauber. We'll see as they get closer. Alesi is coming down now to complete his 54th lap in this 65-lap race. And Michael Schumacher tucks up tight behind him, looking for the opportunity to get past down to turn one. There is Panis. Now, he is 15 seconds behind. And there he is. And Panis is now right up with the Ferrari of Eddie Irvine. Now, Irvine is with Verstappen and Berger. So Olivier Panis has got a lot of work to do. This has probably spoiled his race completely. And out goes Deniz. Well, sadly, another double retirement for the Arrows team. Pedro Deniz is out of the race. Olivier Panis is now right in traffic. He's up with Eddie Irvine in 12th position as the battle between Alesi and Schumacher rages.
Well, wouldn't surprise me if Eddie Irvine is less than helpful in letting Panis pass. Panis has made a real pig's ear getting through this traffic. Villeneuve's now off for a clear win, and Panis, instead of chasing him home and having a great chance to take a superb win here this afternoon, has now got his mirrors full of John Alesi and Michael Schumacher all at the same time, and that's not a nice feeling. He's really got to nail this traffic, be very ruthless, very aggressive, and I hope he hasn't just settled for second place, because he may have it taken away from him.
But it's not inconceivable that the Ferrari team, knowing that Michael Schumacher in 4th place is right up with Alesi, and now with Panis, is saying to Eddie Irvine, give the hardest possible time you can to Alesi.
Well, that's Alesi right up behind Panis. Now, Panis had a go at Eddie Irvine into turn 1, didn't come off, and actually dropped back more into the clutches of Alesi. Puff of tyre smoke there. It's a horrible smell when you follow a car with the burning rubber as you go through the cloud of tyre smoke. But I don't understand why Olivier's struggling so much. Maybe he's just picking up a lot of understeer, can't get the front of the car where he wants it on the racetrack in traffic, because he's gone absolutely nowhere since he came up behind Ralph Schumacher, and now this little queue. And Alesi's gesticulating, I would have thought, to the marshals, as much as say, where are the blue flags? We're lapping these guys. Where are the blue flags? I haven't seen a blue flag waving yet at all. Where's Panis running wide? Look, Panis running wide to get some drive out of the corner. He's got to get into, yes, Alesi's saying, get the blue flags out, get them waving, pull this lot out of the way so we can have a good scrap to the finish.
And rightly so, riding with Jean Alesi, 3rd position, chasing Olivier Panis, who has got ahead of him Eddie Irvine, who's a lap behind, except for a car's length. Now, there is Panis having another go at Eddie Irvine. Once again, Irvine closes the door. Once again, Alesi gets a bit closer, and ahead of Irvine is Jos Verstappen in 11th place in the Tyrrell. So there's 2 battles going on here, effectively a lap apart, and Panis goes through this time. Panis goes through, Irvine runs wide, Panis goes through, Alesi goes through, Irvine will stay tight to let his teammate Michael Schumacher through, and he's done so. Michael Schumacher moves a lap ahead of Eddie Irvine. We're now on lap 57. Jacques Villeneuve, meantime, has profited from all that. He got through that traffic cleanly, and he's now 16.5 seconds ahead of Olivier Panis, who's got Alesi. There he is right behind him, who's got Schumacher. There he is, number 5. Michael Schumacher, 4th place. And here is a replay. Alesi furiously saying to the marshals, as Martin has just said, for heaven's sake, do something with the blue flags and tell Eddie Irvine to move over and let me through. Well, it's happened. But it's happened too late. Olivier Panis now coming up to Jos Verstappen in 11th position and going past.
Yes, he's going to pass the Tyrrell quite easily there. That's an important move for him with just a few laps to go, because that'll give him a bit of clear space now. He wants to make hay while the sun's shining and pull out as much distance as he can, while Alesi and Michael Schumacher have to negotiate that Tyrrell to drop them out of his tow so they can't tow him down the straight, and then he'll have 2nd place in the bag. But it's still going to be touch and go for 3rd place. I'm not sure Schumacher's got the car to do it with. As I said, he's been in the slipstream of Alesi for this whole stint, and his tyres are going to be feeling pretty second-hand.
3 points potentially for Michael Schumacher, 10 points potentially for Jacques Villeneuve, the 2 of them leading the World Championship. So it's really going to pay Michael Schumacher if he can get past Jean Alesi, never mind getting past Olivier Panis, and they're both being held up by Verstappen, who lets Alesi through. Is he going to let Michael Schumacher through? We're on lap 58 now, so there are 7 laps, including the one that they are on, and Villeneuve has got a 16-second cushion. Panis. Verstappen lapped Schumacher. The gap between Schumacher and Alesi is a visual one. It's about a second. Puff of smoke from the rear tyres of Alesi's car there as he brakes very hard to go through and take Katayama.
I think Panis has got an engine problem there. The bottom of the car does tend to hit the ground halfway down the straight where they were going over, but it seemed more like blue smoke to me. And then I thought I saw another puff from the back of Panis's car when he shifted down into the corner, but nothing more to be seen at the moment. Then Alesi's got past the Tyrrell well. Michael Schumacher still stuck up right up close underneath his rear wing, but so we're on lap 59. Villeneuve leading
Panis by 15 seconds. Lacey is third, just 2 seconds behind Panis, and just ahead of Michael Schumacher fourth. David Coulthard in the McLaren is in fifth position. Johnny Herbert in the points. Quite several retirements, 6 to be exact. Ralph Schumacher is one of them. Rubens Barrichello out in the Stewart. Nick Astala out in the Tyrrell. Shinji Nakano out in the Frost. Damon Hill out in the Arrows, so both Arrows retired. And Ukyo Katayama out in the Minardi. Now we're into lap 60, and Verstappen has still not been passed by Michael Schumacher, which really does surprise me. Maybe the flags are being waved. And there again is that puff of smoke from the rear of Panis's car as Lacey goes through and takes Trulli, who is in 15th position. That's the second lap in succession. We've seen that significant puff of smoke as Olivier Panis slowed for the right-hander at turn 1.
Well, we know that Eddie Irvine has a 10-second penalty for ignoring the blue flag, although I didn't see the blue flags too much. There it is now, and I think Jos Verstappen will be next to star on our blocking a penalty 10-second board for doing a similar thing to Michael Schumacher. So I'm not sure there's enough time in the race now for them to activate that, although actually no, they have to come in within 3 laps. They have to come in within 3 laps and take that penalty, otherwise they're excluded from the race.
So Verstappen could be very much affecting the World Championship situation at the moment, holding up Michael Schumacher, who is unable to get past the Tyrrell Ford, because Jacques Villeneuve is very shortly about to, well, he's just started, there he is, his 61st lap. So 5 laps to go. 5 laps of this 3-mile circuit, just under 15 miles, just at 2.9 to be exact, and he's 11.5 seconds ahead of Panis, who is catching him and is now hopefully clear of traffic. Panis actually took 2 seconds out of Villeneuve's lead, but Villeneuve knows exactly what the situation is. Ferrari out, that's Eddie Irvine.
That's Eddie Irvine taking his 10-second penalty there. The team are timing him. Watch the board at the front of the car. The white lollipop will go up. Your 10 seconds is up. On you go. That's your afternoon completely wrecked, but it wasn't too special anyway. Fighting with a Tyrrell for 11th place is not where you expect to be in a works Ferrari, especially when the other one is right up front chasing the podium.
Ferrari out, Ferrari in again as Eddie Irvine rejoins, as you say. He's had a pretty grim Spain, started well down on the grid in 11th position. Jacques Villeneuve out on his own, rounding turn 9. Question is this is going to be the interesting lap. He was 11.5 seconds ahead of Olivier Panis when he went into his 61st lap out of 65. Now you see he goes across the starting grid into his 62nd lap. And if that gap is not reduced, there is Olivier Panis coming through. And the gap between Villeneuve and Panis now is 9.9 seconds. So again, Panis has gained on the Williams.
198 miles an hour there for Panis as he heads into turn 1. I'm really annoyed with that traffic, and I'm really annoyed with Panis taking so long to get past us. Here he is again, back in the 22. I don't think he would have passed Villeneuve in a month of Sundays, if I'm completely honest, but I would like to have seen him cruise up behind that Williams and have a good go about it. We've been robbed of a good finish to the race there, but now he's taking 1.5 to 2 seconds a lap out of Villeneuve, but there's not enough time to do anything about it.
Yes, if he finishes in second place, it won't be his first second, because he's been there before. In fact, he's been there before twice, but they were by default rather than by a fine drive. But as you say, if he got through the traffic cleaner and quicker, he could well have been battling with this man, Jacques Villeneuve, who's now very well on his way to yet another Grand Prix victory. That would be his 9th in only his 2nd Grand Prix year and his 22nd Grand Prix in all. So 9.9 seconds was the gap. There's Villeneuve into lap 63. So there's this lap, lap 60. There is Panis in the background. And there may be only 64 laps left. We're not sure about that, because the second warm-up lap could well have been taken off the 65-lap distance.
Well, the cars weren't allowed to refuel on the grid, so they have to reduce the race by the warm-up lap. They're not, otherwise some of these cars would run out of fuel. They're filled that closely to the limit that you can't suddenly make them do a lap of the racetrack and then not count that towards the race distance. But Villeneuve now looking very comfortable for yet another win. But let's quickly talk about Frentzen back in 9th place. Another disastrous afternoon for him, where he gets buried in the pack off of the poor start and just cannot seem to do anything about it.
Well, if they stay where they are now, the gap between Villeneuve and Schumacher in terms of World Championship points in this race is going to be 7. So Villeneuve will move back into the lead of the World Championship with a 3rd victory in his 6th race by 3 points from Michael Schumacher. Schumacher is now some 5.5 seconds behind Jean Alesi as a result of the traffic in general and Jos Verstappen in particular. And now Jacques Villeneuve is on his 64th lap. And clearly there are going to be 65 laps, with them not having been allowed to refuel. As we look back down the long straight, and Olivier Panis, that is the 2nd place man, an excellent drive, 8.5 seconds now behind Villeneuve. He's taken another second out of Jacques' lead, but Villeneuve is probably quite content with that. As I said earlier, he knows what the situation is. He will have been getting pit board signals. He will have been talking about things on the radio with his team, and he knows exactly how he's got to pace himself.
One good strap left now towards the end of the race for 5th and 6th place. 2 British boys, David Coulthard and Johnny Herbert. Coulthard in 5th, 2 points at the moment for that. And the final point for Johnny Herbert, but he's just 0.5 seconds behind going into these last couple of laps. And I doubt the director's going to pick that up because he's missed just about everything else this weekend. So we'll have a good look out of the commentary box window to see how that scrap's going on.
And if Johnny Herbert finishes in the points, that will be only the second time he has done so this season. But now, lap 64, the end of coming up, and Jacques Villeneuve goes through to stop, to take the checkered flag. So it was, and I apologise, 64 laps rather than 65. That has completely mystified us because they were not allowed to refuel. But there, finishing in 2nd position, is Olivier Panis. And we just wait for Jean Alesi now to come through in 3rd position. And Michael Schumacher in 4th position. Who is going to be 5th?
Johnny Herbert passed Coulthard on the last lap for 2 points. A brilliant move. And unfortunately, we didn't see it. We did call it right, Murray. It's 64 racing laps. Of course, with the 2 warm-up laps because of the false start there with Ralf Schumacher.
Olivier Panis at last catches Jacques Villeneuve and rightly stays behind him. And in the World Championship now, the leader is the man you're looking at with his victory arm outstretched. Jacques Villeneuve back 3 points ahead of Michael Schumacher, who slips back from 1st in the championship to 3rd.
Congratulations to Jacques Villeneuve. He was fastest in qualifying. He started on the pole and led from start to finish. Jacques Villeneuve wins his 3rd race of the year, regains the championship lead in the Formula One World Championship in Spain.